Don't toy with me, elf! I get enough of that from the gods! Tell your master that Gotrek Gerdison hasn't forgotten his oaths! I'm coming for them all! And I want my axe back!
And hello, ladies and gentle people.
Gentle people, I liked that.
Gentle peoples. The gentle peoples as they sit upon the mushrooms and stare at us with their giant luminescent eyes.
It's ironic calling them gentle, isn't it? Considering that we're on like a war game podcast.
That's a good point. Good evening, ladies and warmen.
Absolutely. This is the Kill, Maim, Burn podcast.
MDKKND, murder, death, kill, and destroy.
Just as a disclaimer, I'm not saying that you're all aggressive and violent and unpleasant by inclination, although I might be.
Except for you, Jai.
Except for you, and you, and you,
and you, and you,
and you, and you, and you. You know who you are. You know who you are.
Corn will fix it for you.
Exactly. Corn will fix everything with blood. And splintered bone and fire. Big piles of skulls.
Can you imagine Korn doing a charity drive? That would be amazing.
That would be really interesting. What I had in my head there was Korn doing a sort of upholstery style thing. You know, lots of like a company. There's like a little forge in Korn's realm where they make furniture out of bones and skulls in a sort of HR Giga vein.
Is it wrong that my mind went straight to Ed Gein?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually, yes. That would be more accurate, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That would be more accurate. I was thinking more along the lines of the furniture range that HR Giga made when he was alive from cattle bones, you know? Which go for like upwards of £30,000 for a single chair.
I'm just going to quickly digress with a little tale for you all. So, the other day, me and my illustrious other half were walking down the street talking about our wedding plans, and in that weird synchronicity that the world sometimes throws at you, we were thinking to ourselves, oh, hang on, there's two people, and we don't know if they're vegetarian or vegan.
Okay.
Turn a corner, and lo and behold, here becomes Teasdale and Trin as they walk down the street. Aha! We were just talking about you. Brilliant. And I said, oh, yeah, well, we're vegetarian. Although not that you'd believe it. It's like, what do you mean? Well, we've just pulled a sheep corpse back from the fells. What? Yeah, we've just got it marinating in maggots at the moment because we're going to make something out of the skeleton.
Brilliant! Wow, marinating there were certain images in that story that I loved. Yep. I loved the sheep corpse dragged from the fells. Mm-hmm. That was fabulous, and the marinating in maggots. That was awesome. Lovely imagery today on the Fluffenhammer, ladies and gents. Already we've had Giga and his abattoir furniture. We've had Ed Gein and his lamps and chairs upholstered in the skins of murdered women. We've had dead sheep and maggots. And we've barely begun.
Yes. I mean, where can we go from here?
I don't know.
The only place we can go is introductions and musicals. And of course that musical would have to be I just met you and this is crazy, but this is my basement and I'm John Wayne Gacy. And
what else could it be? Let's just go through the serial killer references, shall we? Let's just go through them.
Welcome to the Creeks. Yeah.
There's a sort of cross-pollination going on here. I mean, are you getting a little antsy about not having done the Creeks for a while, Adam?
Yes, it's been like 9 months since I've been able to do a Creeks episode.
Yeah,
is it
like
talk about serial killers and mass murderers?
I was going to say,
cult leaders.
Is it kind of like the equivalent of when women get broody? when they see children? Is it that kind of thing? Oh, I want
one. I demand to birth an episode about horrific things.
I'm sure we'll get onto it. I'm sure there's plenty of horrific things we can talk about.
Oh, yes. Speaking of horrific things, hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
I'm Adam.
Hello. Hi. I'm back from the depths. Thank you. By the way, thank you so much to Adam White for stepping in while I was... cavorting with the creatures between the cracks, between realities. That Slender Man is not going to be bothering me for a while, I can tell you.
Did you just get him back behind the sofa? Get in there,
absolutely. He's got nothing on me, I'm afraid. He's got absolutely no traction. That's the thing, absolutely no traction. You know how people see Slender Man and they run away and they scream and whatnot? It doesn't really work that way for me. And when he starts flailing with his tendrils, well, I love that. I absolutely love that. And then he's got nowhere to go. That's the problem. He's got no other tricks up his many, many, many sleeves.
I have heard on the rumour mill that if you say exaggerated elegy into a mirror 5 times, first of all, well done, because that's a hard thing to say.
It's a hard thing to say. That's why I came up with it.
And you do turn up and just beat someone to death with a tuna sandwich.
That's exactly true. There are variations on the myth,
course,
obviously, and I try to keep things fresh, or so you never know. It may not be a tuna sandwich, for example. It may be a baguette or something.
But yeah, I have heard that you kill people with banality just to
emphasise the
exciting.
Point.
Yeah.
To emphasise the point, obviously, yeah, that's absolutely true.
Oh, mighty Mallet, the chaos god of banality, we sat at your tiny throne.
But yes, hello, ladies and gents, I am back. And again, thank you, Adam White, for stepping in. I listened to the episode, I listened back to it, and it was absolutely fascinating to get that perspective.
Yes,
you
totally.
know,
White is a guy that I love to work with. Mm-hmm. I've done so much work with him over the years. I mean, if you listen to the episode, we probably talked about a lot of it.
Yep.
He's been on the old oil house multiple times with us. I did work with him on the underbase multiple times. The guy is just an absolute font, and he has a voice like chocolate.
He's got a lovely voice. He did when I did, and it wasn't last TF Nation, it was the TF Nation before, when you and I did the readings. I believe he did one of those, didn't he? And he was very good. He was very, very good. The thing I have with Adam, which we constantly acknowledge whenever we run into one another at TF Nation, is we intend to sit down and talk. Mm-hmm. And then we never, ever, ever get the chance because he's so busy. You know, he's so busy organising stuff. And I think that's what happened this time round as well with the Fluffenhammer. There's some sort of cosmic force trying to keep us apart. So the next time he's on, I must be here.
Yes, I would like to get him on at some point to do an entire episode around Eisenhorn or around Kane. Mm. Yeah, some kind of character. I was going to say character assassination. No, that's the creeks again. That's the creeks coming
some
kind of character exploration. I think that would be quite a cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Actually, I mean, it's one of the things. It's one of the things I love about doing the Fluffenhammer. The fact that we've got so many different people who have different emphases. They come at things from very different perspectives based on like their experiences, their profession, even.
Yeah.
You know, I loved that. I mean, I learned stuff from the last episode that I did not know. I feel educated as a result.
That's what happens when Daddum turns up. We all get educated by the Daddum. He's going to kill me.
Awesome.
So, nearly 10 minutes in. Shall we get the show going?
Yeah, let's. Because my God, games, they've done it again. Haven't they? They've done it again. They've done that thing where they've dropped this incredible meteorite shower on us.
Oh, yes.
Just
what? Right, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to try and cover as much of Warhammer Fest as physically possible.
I mean, shall we start with the first thing most people saw, which was Rogue Trader?
Yes,
let's start with Rogue Trader. I mean, that was a surprise. We've heard rumors that they're gonna do like this new skirmish game that's 40k based, and that may have, it may be a bit more like detailed. It may have sort of like an RPG element to it, but we didn't really know what it was going to be. We didn't really understand, and then suddenly we get these pictures, these images with Rogue Trader next to him. Now, for those who don't know, who are maybe a little bit too young to remember, Rogue Trader was the name of the first 40k.
It was.
It's an oddly obscure name because it references the it's those sort of Cal Jericho types who they're sort of licensed traders who move from planet to planet, and they're kind of Han Solo-ish. They're outlaws, but they keep the Imperium running. Basically, they keep it running with the trade routes that they keep open. And to have a game that's called that is big.
Yes.
On a historical scale, it's kind of big because there are going to be like the very old god, like Adam. They're gonna be their ears are going to really perk up at this. They're going to get all misty-eyed.
I did.
Yep. At the fact that there is a game called Rogue Trader, I found myself like, whoa, what the hell is going on here? And they just dropped it, like hundreds of images suddenly coming up of the miniatures, of the game board, of everything. It wasn't subtle, this one. It was not subtle.
The thing that really jumps out at me here is there's a dog.
There's a dog, yeah.
There's a dog.
There's a dog.
There's nurgly people. There's a ship's doctor.
Yeah, there are lots of like domestic Imperial types.
Yeah.
It seems knocking about, which is I friggin' love. I've got to say, it's you know, when you look at a piece of John Blanche artwork of like one of the worlds of the Imperium, and you see all of these wonderful sort of hunched over biomechanical characters who've had parts of their humanity ripped away to facilitate their function, but we've never really had miniatures of them because they don't really fit into an army as such. They're not fighters, they are the citizens of the Imperium. It looks like we're getting them in this game.
I don't know if you've seen it, but have you seen all of the... I was going to try and find a picture there, but realised it was going to take too long.
Yeah.
Have you seen all of the Nurgle invaders?
I haven't seen all of them. I've seen a lot of them, and they are freaking amazing.
The sheer amount of character that's popping out through these things absolutely destroys the idea that 3D printing lacks character.
Oh, for God's sake, yeah, absolutely. These things are like, each miniature is its own little story, it seems. It's like its own little diorama. There's that thing, that big hulking thing that's got faces morphing all over it. I don't know what the hell it is, whether it's like a chaos spawn or something. That thing is mesmerising to look at. It's absolutely mesmerising.
Do you know what this reminds me of? The thing with all the mouths in the gut and the face coming out of the arm and the big butcher's cleaver. This reminds me, and it isn't just because it's called Rogue Trader, this reminds me of old 40k.
Yeah.
Where the stories had creatures and things in it that you couldn't put onto a tabletop because how would you? You know.
Yeah, absolutely. How would you?
It's just not feasibly possible to create these things en masse. But having this skirmish game makes it look like... I mean, I'm thinking of like Deathwing, you know, the original printing of Deathwing before the squats got taken out. Or, you know, the old Inquisitor War books.
This is what I was thinking. Maybe it's going to be like Inquisitor. Where every miniature is an individual, so you don't necessarily have units. You have...
I think that's exactly what this is going to be.
So like a kind of a fusion between tabletop RPG and wargame.
Yes, I think it's very much going to be based on the Necromunda backbone. But I think it's going to be doing its own thing with it. It's going to be building it up into something else. Which is just perfect for me because, good God, I don't need more things to throw money at.
No, absolutely not. I mean, the fun of these games, of course, is they draw more people in. It's just a brilliant marketing strategy because it's not like you pick up the core game, then you go and get the book, then you go and buy millions of miniatures that you need to paint together. It doesn't work like that with the individual games. They're gateways. You know, you can pick up the box, put the miniatures together, and play it.
I'm just going to send you a link now, George. I know it's very unprofessional to be doing this in the middle of a show.
In the middle of the podcast.
In the middle of talking about something. But here is all of the minis. Well, not all of them, but the majority of them.
Oh, wow. I've just got the big guy with the faces coming out of his arm in my face. He's brilliant. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I like him a lot. I mean, he doesn't necessarily have to be Nurgle. He could be any of the Chaos Gods could have touched him at some point.
Yeah.
The mouths in the stomach, those are gorgeous as well. Beautifully sculpted. Oh, wow.
Squid guy.
Yeah, even if I don't use the miniatures in the game, personally I'll be buying those just for conversion potential.
Yes.
I mean, those tendrils are beautiful. I could use those for lots of stuff.
It's the guy underneath Squid Guy that gets me.
Oh!
Because how much does he look like he stepped out of a John Blanche piece of art?
Absolutely he does. Absolutely he does. I mean, you were talking about the original Rogue Trader earlier, where you had the artwork and the descriptions of these creatures that could not be put into miniature form. One of the big problems, of course, back in Rogue Trader, is that the miniatures had loads of individuality and character, but the sculpting technology just wasn't there. So a lot of those miniatures, much as I have a soft spot for them, they're very difficult to make out exactly what they are. You know? Whereas now you can realise these things. You can realise these very fine, minute details, these biomechanical bits and pieces, these areas where their humanity has been sacrificed. Yeah, he's lovely. Yeah. He's absolutely lovely. And again, he looks kind of domestic.
Yeah.
Despite the gun, he looks kind of domestic. He doesn't look like a fighter.
No, he doesn't. He looks like the type of guy that you'd see back in 80s Rogue Trader just wandering around in the background of a painting.
Absolutely.
I love him to bits. I mean, look at his giant hat and his Tesla coil sticking out of his back. And
he's very cool. He is very cool. And I love the Imperial Eagle on his skirt. That's wonderful. He looks so domestic. I mean, something I would love them to do. I don't know whether they'll ever do it, but, you know, New Games Workshop being New Games Workshop, who knows? I would love them to release just boxes of Imperial citizenry.
Oh, please.
Yeah,
yes.
wouldn't you?
That would be amazing.
Just to have them, like, say if you're fighting in a war zone that's an Imperial hive city or something, you can have the citizens knocking about. They could do rules for them. They could do it as an expansion, you know, and then they could expand from that. Maybe they could do the same for like craft worlds. You could have Alderi citizenry. You could have the citizens of demon worlds. Yeah, it could be wonderful. I would eat them up. I really would.
Well, you could do it quite easily as a base citizen sprue.
Yep.
And then just release it with an extra sprue for conversion material. You know, so here is Cadia. You get the citizen sprue, but then you get a sprue just Cadia basic bits, and then you get a Demon World one with just Demon World bits. It's not unthinkable.
It's not. It really isn't. I mean, I think if they ever cottoned on to the notion that there is an appetite for it, they'd probably do it at this point.
Oh, yeah.
They'd probably do it. We've got the Imperial Assassin, of course.
Yeah, that's so unlike anything that's existed. But then you look at the eyes, look at the rebreather on her mouth, you look at the hair, the samurai silhouette, and then you think that has stepped right out of 1988.
Yep.
It's another one that it feels like it's based on a piece of artwork that doesn't exist, which is something that a lot of the Imperium miniatures look like in this. I mean, I don't know if you can see it too well, but if you go down below the Rogue Trader video, there's a screenshot.
Of the sort of masses, the armed forces, yeah?
Have a look in the top right-hand corner.
Oh, who be that?
Do you see those two there? There's a guy in the very far background. He looks like some kind of churgeon.
Yep, and there's a guy with a big feather coming out of his hat.
Yep. And once again, how much do those guys, plus the Imperial Guardsmen in the foreground, plus the dog, who I love, how much do they look like they're from the 80s version?
They really do. They're much more
and
decorous, aren't they? They've got that sort of 1980s hair metal over-the-top quality, which I really like. I really, really like, I have to say. If this is indicative of the aesthetic that they're going for with the Imperium these days, then count me in.
Oh, good grief, yes. If they're going back to a classic feel. I mean, I don't think this is going to be something that hits 40k as a whole. I think this is going to be just in Rogue Trader. And I think Rogue Trader is going to be hitting a lot of that 80s, early 90s feel. I mean, granted, the bloatflies that are in that picture, they are bloatflies, and the thing that's sort of charging forward doesn't really hit that feel as much as everything else does. But then you look at the two creatures at the front with the skull heads and the metal mask, and that's, oh, good grief, that is just Wayne England.
Yeah, it's right out of ROC, isn't it? It's right out of The Lost and the Damned, definitely. I mean, if that's maybe that's one of the bases that they will sell Rogue Trader on. That it's called Rogue Trader, so it's already got the retro feel. So maybe that's what they're going to go for. Maybe the aesthetic is going to be just slightly removed. It's going to be more 1980s than the rest of 40k.
Yeah.
Which is a very, very clever thing to do, because there are still people who hanker after that, definitely. I mean, absolutely there are. And it's one of those things where I've always felt personally that the Imperium has suffered next to, say, Chaos or some of the more elaborate and the more aesthetically characterized forces. There is this horrible tendency for the Imperial forces to look a little bit military.
Yes. Very militant, yes.
A little bit pared down in comparison, which is, okay, it's an aesthetic that can work by contrast, but at the same time it can be a little bit boring.
Yeah. When the Imperium just looks like guys in hats, you kind of lose a little bit of the flavour. And what this seems to be doing is putting that flavour right into 40k again, and it makes me incredibly happy. Everything I've seen so far for Rogue Trader, it makes this a must-want.
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be one of those box sets I automatically buy. I mean, depending, of course, on what it actually is. I don't think we've seen enormous amounts about the rules. All we really know is that you've got what look to be chaos cults versus sort of like an inquisitorial warband. That's what we know.
Possibly a spaceship?
Possibly a spaceship, yeah, because we do... One of the things I felt when I saw the photograph with all the doors and things on the board, it looks like Space Crusade. It looks like an updated Space Crusade. And if that's what they go for, I'm in.
God, George, how have we both come to that same conclusion?
Yeah, I know, right? Isn't that what it looks like? I mean,
No, it does. It really does. The first thing... In the picture of them all on the board, the first thing I thought of was, is this Space Crusade?
With a different name.
Oh, yeah. A completely different aesthetic and totally different minis.
Yeah.
But it does feel like that. It feels like that Hero Quest type game. It's...
Count me in. Count me in a million times over. I would so go for that. I haven't played a game quite like that for a long time. And I would be up for it.
I don't want to say that this hits all my nostalgia buttons, because nostalgia is a two-edged sword.
Absolutely. It can be it can be poisonous, it can be corrosive, it really can.
However, this is beating all of my nostalgia buttons.
It is, and in a very positive way. You know, it is not the case that, oh, I want to go back to the 1980s, blah 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 blah. I just don't. You know, that's just not the case. I'm interested in this as an update, as a new game that maybe takes some of the older frameworks and the older systems and updates them a little bit, makes them a bit more interesting, a bit more fluid, a bit more free-flowing, that links them a bit more maybe to 8th Ed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That'd be wonderful.
I think that's very much what this is going to be. Shall we move on to the next thing?
Yes!
We do have a lot to cover.
Let's.
Shall we hit a really big one?
What's the really big one? What are we going for?
Well...
As in big, do you mean like really big? Do you mean like maybe Titan scale?
I'm thinking something that is gigantic.
Oh, okay.
Right? Something that is really, really, really big news.
Oh, I think I know what you mean.
So it seems that Games Workshop are going to be putting out a podcast.
Yeah.
It's called the Stormcast.
Yeah.
It's the official Age of Sigmar podcast.
How cool is that? So official competition, Adam.
I'm just going to sit here and say, so, trying to put me out of business, are you?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have to up our game, apparently. We're going to have to up our game a little bit.
No, that's not the thing I was going to talk about. But what I was going to talk about was the Hammerhal Herald, because I'm going to keep this going for a while.
Yeah.
There's going to be an entire thing about what it's like to live in the mortal realms. There's bulletins, there's adverts, there's going to be notices from the streets of the greatest of the free cities. They've made a website dedicated to Hammerhal.
Brilliant. I mean, this is something that AOS has needed for a while.
Yes, and this is something we're going to tie into something else as we talk.
Obvious. No, there's an obvious one. There's definitely an obvious one.
Yeah. So I just think, and there's a. Okay. I'll move on to the actual news.
The actual news, yeah.
So there's a thing called role models coming. The misadventures of Sigmar's most poorly chosen champions. Have you read the first one yet?
I haven't. I have not.
It's wonderful. Allow me to do a dramatic reading.
Okay, fair enough.
We are the storm of retribution. We are Sigmar's will made manifest. We shall deliver his vengeance to the realms. Can you believe it, Nihilus? We're finally going to battle. Shh, Brightheart. It's starting. I shall strike like thunder. I move 6 inches. Tink. What company is this?
Yeah, I know, right? It's
there is a webcomic dedicated to taking the piss out of itself.
Yeah.
There is a website dedicated to what can only be described as fable level of immersion.
Yeah.
And they're doing the Warhammer Age of Sigmar official podcast.
Brilliant. I mean, it's going to be very interesting, that, for a number of reasons, you know?
Yes.
I mean, obviously, it's going to be a place, we're going to have to keep attuned to it, because it is going to be the kind of place where they'll drip feed rumours. Mm-hmm. Definitely. They'll suggest what might be coming down the line, and that will be very interesting.
Agreed.
But it will also just give a little bit of insight into how it's functioning on the inside, you know?
Mm-hmm. And this is where we give up with the Fluffenhammer, because what's the point?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the last episode, by the way. Yes, I don't know. Did we neglect to mention that?
Yeah, this is us ending now. We can't go up against the Stormcast.
There's absolutely no point. No point.
I'm changing the name of the Fluffenhammer to the Nurglecast.
Yeah, absolutely. The Maggotkin. Let's call it the Maggotkin.
Maggot King. Yeah. No, in all seriousness, right, so there is some big news coming.
Huge.
Let's talk about Adeptus Titanicus.
Let's talk about Titanicus, because that is physically big.
It is huge, it is massive, it is the most expensive box set that Games Workshop have ever put out.
It is and it isn't. I mean, it's one of those things where it's £100, isn't it?
Yes.
It's going to be £100, but if you look what you're getting at, it's actually not that bad. Those Titans that you get in it are huge.
They are?
They're absolutely enormous, and you get a fair few of them. You get enough to play a game with. Mm-hmm. So it's not... I think it's reasonable. Given the size of the minis, I think it's reasonable.
If you got 4 Titans, right, in a £100 box, plus the rules, plus counters and all that type of thing, you'd think, all right, these things are big. I can see why the £100 going. It's expensive. Oh, what do you mean? We get a city.
Yeah.
Because you get a city.
You get a city in it, so it's like, yeah, it's an investment. It is. It certainly is. But it looks like it's going to be well worth it. And this new scale is really interesting, because from what I understand, they're marketing it as though it's going to be the new Epic.
Yes.
So the miniatures are going. They are not Epic sized. That's for damn sure. They're much bigger than Epic scale.
However, right, now this is where things get interesting, because I've seen a lot of people complaining about how you can't use your old Epic forces with this.
Yeah.
Right, okay. That's a reasonable thing to say.
Yeah.
If there had been a version of Epic in the last 10 years.
This is the point, isn't it? Epic hasn't been around for the longest time, and it's a kind of a shame. I used to actually really like the Epic systems when I was a kid, but it went away. It was one of those systems that was squatted during the dark days, and it's been nothing but a memory for the longest time, and this is the new version.
Yes. Also, if you are a type of person who still plays Epic, guess what you've got with this box? You've got true scale Titans.
Yeah.
Because this is how big they should be.
They're huge. Yeah. And it's obviously, I mean, the game system is obviously going to be based around the war engines, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And it has the potential to be at least as big as 40k or AOS, this. It could be the third system.
Well, the interesting thing about this is... Oh, yeah, it is definitely going to evolve into that. This isn't Epic in the way that Space Marine was Epic, or Epic was Epic. This is Adeptus Titanicus. This is Titans fighting each other.
Yeah. Right? This is it's the scale of war that you read about in the books, you know, that you can't replicate in the 40k system per se, where you have got like packs of Warhound Titans bringing down warlords or imperators. It's like Apocalypse on a mass scale.
Yeah.
You know, this is like when an imperator fires its plasma annihilator and destroys a city. That's what this is going to be.
The thing that I'm kind of dancing around here, because I don't want to be the guy that sits there, well, actually, but this is what the first Epic game was.
Yep.
The very first one, way back in the day, Adeptus Titanicus. I keep wanting to say Adeptus Mechanicus.
Yes, of course.
Adeptus Titanicus was just Titans fighting, and then it evolved into being Space Marine, and then it got completely repackaged as Warhammer 40k Epic.
That's it.
So what you get here, out of the box, is a game where Titans fight each other. There are no little men, there are no tanks. That, trust me, will come later.
It so will. It so will. They'll evolve the system. They'll evolve the system so you can have enormous armies fighting.
And that'll be great.
It will. It'll be loads of fun. But that was what Epic was always about anyway, wasn't it? I mean,
getting the Titans into combat.
It was about the Titans, and they knew that. They knew that when they released like the Adeptus Titanicus system. I don't know whether it was the second, but the one that had the Imperator and the Gargants.
That's when it became 40k Epic.
Yeah, when it had like the and that will happen too, by the way. We'll get a new Imperator. I will get the Gargants. There'll be equivalents for all the other races as well.
As long as we get those old Eldar-style Wraith Titans.
Oh, the flowing ones, the smooth ones. I much prefer those to the one that came out in Warhammer 40,000 Epic. That was not a good sculpt.
No, it wasn't great. But what I want to see is stuff like the... what were they called? The Knights Revenant. You know, those little one-man Titans and stuff.
Absolutely, I want to see those too. And the Slaneshi Knights, let's bring those back as well. Let's have more of those, please. I like those.
And the giant Bio-Titans. Oh, I love that.
Yes, please. Yes, please. I mean, they'll never call it this, but let's have the Dominatrix back.
Oh, yeah.
The Hive Queen, you know? They'll never call it that in a million years, but
no. Those days have passed.
Yeah. Although that said, I mean, they call things incubi and succubi, so you know.
That's true.
So who knows?
I will say that due to the nature of what it is, this is at the bottom of my my interest list. But that's purely if this had been the big release, like the only big thing that they'd released, I would have been all over this like a rash. However, it gets pushed down a little bit because Road Trader looks amazing.
Yeah,
and the next thing we're going to talk about looks amazing. So, George,
yes,
what is the correct response to the question? You can't open a Stormcast chamber every time you've got a problem.
The correct answer, I think, is how many does he bloody have? How many? Is Azurheim just this like insect hive warren of chambers that have all got like whatever? I imagine Sigmar wandering through his halls going, and you've got his like scribes with him. So what do we call this one? Oh, I don't know. Call it the Chamber of Secrets. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Just open it.
Please let me have Gotrek Gurnison and the Chamber of Secrets.
Gotrek Gurnison and the Chamber of Secrets. Yes, that would be fabulous. I would go for that.
There's a troll in the bathroom, Gotrek. Marvelous.
But yes. So, something is happening, is it not, Adam?
Yes, Age of Sigmar is getting a new edition. However, it's also not getting a new edition.
Okay. So this is some slight insider information that you have that you're going to drop on me here, Adam?
Sort of. What we've got here is this is a starter set.
Right. Okay.
It's pretty much everything that was in the General's Handbooks, 2016, 2017. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is a General's Handbook coming as well down the line, which I'm a little bit uncertain why that needs to happen.
If they're getting a new edition, then kind of like...
What I think the 2018 General Handbook is going to be is bringing everything else in line with this version, so you can get one or the other.
Yeah.
Seems to be the idea anyhow.
That sounds like a clever strategy, actually. So you don't have to buy like the big expensive box set if you can't afford it. Exactly. You can just buy the General's Handbook and you're set to game.
Yeah. The reason I'm trying to put this in ways it doesn't get anyone in trouble. So stuff like shooting out of combat, that's in the General's Handbook. Right. So you can't shoot out of combat anymore, which makes perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense, yeah.
But the biggest thing here is the malign sorcery.
The magic system. It's getting updated.
So malign sorcery is based because people loved battle magic.
Yeah.
Right? Do you remember battle magic?
Way back when when you had like the physical effects, when you actually had like miniatures to represent magic storms and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're all cardboard rather than plastic, but right, all that existed. And the idea is, well, why haven't we got battle magic anymore?
Yeah.
So, hence malign sorcery. Mm-hmm. So the biggest thing is, well, there's a couple of big things. So point systems have been changed.
Yeah, of course.
There are rule systems that have been evolved.
Mm-hmm.
So the cool thing here, and I know that people have screamed the sky is falling, there's a new edition, all the battle tomes are going to have to be rebought.
It happens every single time.
No, all the battle tomes that exist stay.
Excellent.
Right, nothing changes. The differences aren't miniatures based, it's engine based.
Right, so okay.
So things like the shooting out of combat, the magic's got a massive overhaul. Mm-hmm. So this basically just updates what exists already. It doesn't need new books.
Excellent. However, so it's the abstraction that's changed, yeah?
Pretty much. One of the biggest things that's interesting, though, is it means that there are going to be new books coming. Mm-hmm. So, like, the Stormcast have 3 books at this point in time, something like that. It's going to go down that route. So, for example, we're getting the Nighthorn, the Death Battle Tome for Nighthorn.
Oh, yes. Right? Yes.
Nighthorn doesn't take away anything from the Legions of Nagash book. It doesn't take anything away from the Death Armies Battle Tome. You know, the whatever it was called, the generic one.
Yeah. The big
came out
sort
right
of
at the beginning.
Yeah.
If you want to use the generic one, use the generic one. If you want to use Legions of Nagash, use Legions of Nagash. Mm-hmm. If you want to use the Nighthaunt one, use the Nighthaunt one. Blah, 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 blah. It's literally... It expands the options that you've got.
Yeah, it's an expansion, not a new version of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the things I find really interesting is the rumour mill seems to be saying that this is the point that cuts off Warhammer Fantasy entirely.
Oh, interesting.
So stuff like the app is going to be getting rid of a lot of the older stuff, and which is fine. It's been 3 years at this point.
Absolutely, it's time. It's probably time. Why not? Okay, some of it's going to be sad, but fine. I'm going to assume that's true in the background terms as well.
I think so. Yeah, I think we're going to get a lot less of the discussion of the world that was.
Mm-hmm. And moving on, it's about time we had a moving on. I'd like to see a bit more about the realms and what they're about. Mm-hmm. I would certainly like to see the story moved on a shade.
Yep. Shade is a good word for it.
It is, isn't it?
Yes. So what do we get in the box? So the box, we get the Sacrosanct Chamber, sorry. So you, Lord Ordinator, loads of new Stormcast Eternals, a lot of female Stormcast Eternals.
Yay! At last! That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of
brilliant.
sense. There should have been lots of females to begin with, because they're from all races and from all sexes, genders, whatever, you know.
Yep, and everything's great. I'm loving it. Even though I'm not a Stormcast player, and I never will be a Stormcast player,
Nor I.
and it's nothing to do with they're cool. They're not for me.
Same here. They're not my army. They're just not my... I find them interesting. I like the background to them. I like reading about Azurheim and how they're created, and I like the tension of them. I like the fact that there is a conflict between their reborn selves and their remembered selves. I really, really like that. But they're not for me.
No, they're too gleamy and clean.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not enough tentacles.
There's not enough skulls. There's not enough green skin.
Absolutely.
There's not enough steampunk engines. Yep. So, but yeah, they are cool. And then we also get a absolute ton of undead.
Yeah, the new spectral creatures.
Seen
I love
Black
them.
Coach.
You know what? The Black Coach has always been one of my favourite things in the undead army. Even way back when it first came in, that bastard metal miniature that was evil to put together and always fell apart.
Yeah.
It's always been one of my favourite elements. This new one is the best.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
The best. By a country mile. It looks gorgeous. It looks absolutely stunning. It's proper sort of Dracula's Coach style thing, with added comic booky spectral effects. I love it.
It upsets me that my entire skeleton-based undead army is no longer going to be entirely skeleton-based.
Yeah, he's going to have spectres and ghosts and things.
It's going to have to, because these things are amazing, and I love them to bits. And there's undead Skaven.
Yay! Is that what those things in the cloaks are?
Yep.
With the slightly almost equine skulls?
Yep. They're undead Skaven wraiths.
Fabulous. I mean,
I don't
again...
know what the story is for them, and I don't care. I want and I need.
Superb. I mean, this is one of the things with the undead range they've never really tapped, but they really should. It's the fact that Nagash and the undead, they don't just resurrect the bodies of dead humans.
Oh, no.
You know, there should be the bodies of dead elves and dead Ideneth and dead orcs and dead Skaven and whatever else they can find. Beastmen, you know, Zarngor. There should be those scattered throughout the regiments of skeletons and zombies and whatever.
And oh man, I love them. I love it to bits. It's everything about this sings to me in just the perfect way. Because, right, weird thing for you.
No.
I've never bought the Age of Sigmar starter box.
You never got that one? The one with the...
The Stormcast and Khorne?
Yep.
Never got it. Not a fan of Stormcast, not really a fan of Khorne. Right, so but that's fine. I mean, I've got the rules everywhere else. I've got the General's handbooks and stuff. But it's absolutely fine. I don't need to buy that original box. This sings to me in about 1,000 different ways, and I want it. The Knight of Shrouds on his spectral horse.
Brilliant, yeah, I love him.
Look at him.
They've gone
amazing.
very Ringwraith with them, haven't they?
Yeah.
They're very Ringwraith, which I like. I think that's a very good way of taking them.
I agree wholeheartedly. But not only have they brought all this out, the thing with the locks and the keys.
Yes, what is it?
I don't know,
what
but I want 7.
Is it? But I like it. I like it a lot.
It's like some kind of ghost armadillo that's coming to get you. It's brilliant.
I will call him Marley.
It's Marley and Marley. Ooh. But then again, you're looking at some of these things, and the ones that have got like the bindings around their eyes, and the big scythes, and once again, much like I was saying before, it feels like they've gone right back to the beginning to create new ideas and start pushing new things forward.
Well, what it looks like they've done is gone back to, say, the original artwork, which is so florid and so inventive, but which the miniatures have never echoed because they didn't have the technology to do them back then.
Totally.
And now they're creating the miniatures of that artwork as we imagined them to be, as we wanted them to be.
Look at the Hangman Ghost.
Yes,
for want
brilliant.
of a better term, the Executioner Ghost. That thing looks like Ian Miller's work.
It's so cool. It's kind of silly, kind of sinister. It's got a lot of heart and a lot of character to it. I think it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Oh, man. But also, as I said before, we have the malign sorcery.
Yes.
Which means we're getting miniatures of magical effects.
Yeah, now how is that gonna work? Because it's very clear from looking at the miniatures that there is a miniature for every sort of lore out there. There's clearly a death one, that big purple skull with spines on it. There's clearly a beast one, that big devouring maw.
Yep.
So, are there going to be laws of magic or something to that effect?
It looks like it, yes, but there's only 5.
Right, okay. That's fine.
Not 9, so I don't know how this is going to work, unless we're not seeing everything yet, which is
it's entirely possible.
The undead one, by the way, is apparently called the Purple Sun, and it is incredible.
Right, okay, the Purple Sun, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot.
I do think that thing is going to cause more injury when you try and pick it up than...
Yes.
But the one that gets me is the destruction one. Just the giant squid ghost power of big teeth. It's just, that thing is... It's incredible, and it's really cute.
Yeah, I like all of them, actually. I'm very... And I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing them releasing miniatures for other magical effects.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest.
I think this is something I think that is going to happen, because one of the things that they mentioned at WARHAMMER Fest is that they're releasing... I'm trying to think what they called it. It's almost like scenario objective packs, I suppose might be the best way of describing them. But one of them, as I'm just trying to find the picture, is a very interesting little... here it is. So, if I just quickly send you this, I want to see if you notice what I've noticed about this.
Okie dokie.
Alright, because this made me very happy. So this is the scenario pack for Age of Sigmar. Right? So if we go through it, we've got some
sort of undead altar thing. That's a chunk of world stone, isn't it?
Yep.
That we've got there. It's fused with death magic by the looks of it.
We've got some treasure chests, which are cool.
Those are very nice. Very, very nice.
An axe with a inside a big stone head.
Yep.
Right, as a collection of armaments. An arcabellum of some description. And do you see the last thing?
The tomb.
Yeah.
You know what it looks like? It looks like the tomb from Hero Quest.
Not only that, but it is the tomb from Hero Quest.
Oh! Cool.
As in, you probably couldn't get any closer unless the bottom of it was cardboard.
It actually is the tomb from Hero Quest, isn't it?
For all intents and purposes, yeah.
Brilliant. I mean, I can't but help but think, but that's probably deliberate.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
It's... When I saw that, I got as giddy as a schoolgirl. And then, of course, finally, for the Age of Sigmar stuff, there's 2 new paints coming.
Yes, which look like lots of fun, actually. And just in time, I was looking at them and thinking, you know what, those would be ace for doing my Shattered Suns with.
Oh, yes.
You know, the spectral style paints, so I'm like, oh, yes, why not? Perfect. Good timing, Games Workshop.
I think that, Citadel... I'm not going to lie, I've got issues with Citadel paints, and it's got a lot to do with the way that the paint pots work. Yeah. It means that they dry out far too
really quick. Really quick. If you don't keep them in a very particular environment, they dry.
Yeah. However, Citadel technical paints are far and above the best you can get on the market. They are incredible.
Yeah.
And I can't recommend them enough. I'm moving mostly onto Army Painter and Game Colour stuff, just because I prefer the squeezy bottles. I think they're a lot easier to use. But whenever Citadel put out a technical paint, I'm going to be all over it.
Yeah.
Because it is fantastic. Right, is that everything for Age of Sigmar? Oh,
yeah,
yes.
I mean, it was...
Actually, there is one other thing I think it's worth talking about. So, Realm Slayer.
Realm Slayer, yeah. So, Godrek's back.
Yes,
Godrek's back. So he's alive. He's still knocking about the realms. Yeah.
Are you saying that Gotrek's alive?
Unintentional. Subconscious,
Oh, okay.
I assure you, subconscious. So, along with many of the other characters from the old world, he actually survived the destruction of it, or at least has been resurrected after it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think he's basically just going to pop out of the realm of chaos.
Yeah.
beating
Bloodied
things up.
and draped in the skins of demons, but alive, nonetheless.
So, there's something we need to talk about here, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because Gotrek is being played by one of the finest voices in the world, in Brian Blessed.
Oh, man, I mean, I love Blessed. I love him as much as anyone else who watched Flash Gordon when they were kids, you know? Is he right for Gotrek, though?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm ambiguous. I mean,
listening to this episode, you'll have heard the trailer for it at the beginning of the show. I've heard it. You haven't yet, George.
Not yet.
I'm in two minds.
Yeah, not entirely convinced.
No, I'm not. Gotrek, to me, has to be really taciturn.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't talk much. He grunts more than speaks.
Yeah, that's a problem
with
with
his words out.
Yeah.
Blessed is an amazing theatrical presence.
Uh-huh. Very verbose, isn't he, as well? You know,
Yeah.
overly verbose. So I'm not sure that works for Gotrek. It may be that they are relying on maybe a little too much on the Brian Blessed mythos. You know, on the draw of it being Brian Blessed rather than him being the right guy for this particular role.
I don't know. I think maybe at the end of this episode, I might edit the clip a little bit to see how it sounds with a bit more. I don't know. I don't want to be down on it because I'm really excited for it. I love the idea of Gotrek returning.
And it's brilliant that they've got like an actor of his caliber to be involved. You know, that's wonderful.
Really
that really is such a cool thing. More of it, you know, more of that, please. Get some proper voice actors in to do the dramatic readings and whatnot. Get them in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not entirely 100% on that casting.
No, I'm not either. You know, of course, if anybody wants to give me a shot at playing Gotrek Gurnison, I will happily jump on that one, without a shadow of a doubt. Hint. You're already taking away my audience by releasing the Stormcast, so come on. Right then, what else do we have, Squire?
From Warhammer Fest, what else is going on? Well,
oh yes, Great Big Dragon.
Great Big Dragon from Forge World, yeah?
Yeah.
And when he says Great Big Dragon, ladies and gents, he means huge. He means sort of like dominating small battlefields bigger than scenery dragon.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's absolutely enormous. It is the kind of miniature where when you put miniature... If you can hear the air quotes, by the way, ladies and gents. When you put it down, it should unbalance the game just by its very nature. It should not be a balanced miniature. That one, not a competitive miniature. You know
what appears to be happening here is that Forge World are trying to. You know how the 30k started getting those smaller Titans onto the 40k battlefield? Mm-hmm. This is what Forge World has appeared to be wanting to do.
Yeah.
The rules for this thing involve this cannot be played in any game less than 40,000 points.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Given its size, given its obvious destructive capacity. I mean, this thing is lunatic. It's absolutely lunatic in terms of its scale.
I do love the little guy on the top.
The little corn champion on the top, who looks a little bit, he's a little bit lost in the dragon, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know? The dragon's the thing.
Yeah, you do have to search for a little while to be able to see the guy who's riding it. It's ridiculous. The thing is beautiful. I would love to see what the base is going to look like.
Yeah, I kind of want to see the background as well. I want to know what the background is, because if there is a champion of the Dark Gods who could conquer a dragon, it would probably be a Cornate champion, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, I think so. Have you seen the picture involving the Johan?
No.
Do you know about Johan?
No.
Right, Johan is a little Imperial guy. Like, not Imperial, like Empire dude.
Empire dude,
who runs away from stuff. And they keep sneaking him into pictures. So I'll just quickly send you.
Is this new Games Workshop being silly again?
Oh yes.
Good. We like that a lot. Brilliant. Scale comparison. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. I didn't know about Johan until yesterday. And he's all over the place.
Brilliant. Absolute brilliance. I love him.
I've got another one here.
So he's sort of like an in-joke, They say, "I'll just stick Johan in the shots."
Yep.
Yeah, brilliant. That dragon is awesome as well. I mean, the thing that's happened a lot in Warhammer and in AOS and in all iterations of fantasy battle, if you like, is that the dragons have never settled on a particular design.
No, they haven't.
They've always been different. You had early on, you had the very worm-like dragons, sort of almost like a fusion of the Oriental style serpentine dragons.
Yeah.
With a more westernized dragon. Then later on, you started to get them becoming more sort of classically westernized, more European. And now it seems that they've gone almost full-on Sumerian with the bloody things. It looks like Tiamat,
What's interesting is, and this ties back into something we were saying earlier about how Games Workshop very much are seeming wanting to mine their past in order to build the future. This stuff reminds me of way back in the day when Marauder did the dragons.
Yes, yeah, very much so. Which were again different styles of dragons from the class, the ones we might consider the classic fantasy battle dragons.
I remember. I wouldn't even want to think what year it was.
Yeah,
but there was I did an order through the mail order system that Games Workshop had way back when. And I don't know if you ever did a mail order. You often got bump with it. You got little free stuff. One of the things I got was a poster, and it showed all of the dragons that Games Workshop did.
Wow!
It was black and white, and it had all like the catalog codes and everything for them. It was to try and sell you more stuff. Let's be honest. But it was awesome. And I spent hours perusing it, and I always remember the Emperor Dragon. It was, most of them were done by Marauder, and the thing was absolutely huge.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, by today's standards, it won't be.
No, it would probably be quite dinky by today's standards.
But I'm looking at this thing and going, it's good to see you again, my friend.
It looks very much like it, does it?
Oh, yeah. It's much updated, and it is much more in line with what Games Workshop looks like now. But this thing is... it just reminds me of that. Very cool
indeed. I mean, of course, now we do have a bit more standardization when it comes to the dragons because they're a very particular creature. Yes. Now, they are not what they were back in the old world. They're elemental like forces. They're they're divine entities now.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because that makes me wonder: is this like a fallen deity or something, or a dragon that's been turned?
I want the dragons to fall in line with the entire god beasts idea, because the god beasts, I always felt in AOS that it was a half-baked idea. They didn't really follow it through into anything.
They could do a bit more with it, definitely.
Yes, without a doubt. Right then, should we move on to some 40k?
Let us. What else do we have for 40k?
Well, for the far-flung millennium, Forge World are doing a load of Necromunda things. So, we're getting rat wolves, which I really want. We've got some more specialist mercenaries, which look really cool. There's one of them who looks like a Escher if Escher went full-blown Transformers G2.
So very colourful then, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's all grey plastic, grey resin, but it looks like it needs to be as
bright as you can possibly make it.
As possible.
Brilliant.
And there's a giant crocodile four-eyed creature that looks absolutely stunning. And of course, more weapon for the different teams.
That's brilliant. I'm very pleased that they're getting involved with the smaller games and expanding them a little bit more. Very pleased about that, because there is an issue with as Games Workshop proper starts to encroach upon the territory that was classically Forge World struggle to find their place.
Yes, they do.
That's always been an issue, So maybe they found a niche there, just supplementing the smaller games.
I think that's exactly what they're doing. They tried it with Blood Bowl and it worked. So they're going to keep doing it with Necromunda, which is fantastic.
Excellent.
What interests me, though, is that Forge World are really pushing what they're able to do. So I've just sent you a picture.
Oh,
because this I find fascinating.
What have we got here?
Well, this is a expansion pack for the Van Sars.
Yes, with the shields. Wow, the energy shields. Oh,
how cool is that?
That's very cool indeed. Nice effect. Very nice effect. That works really, really well.
And of course, I need to show you the crocodile creature.
The crocodile creature. I must see the crocodile creature. Obviously.
The crocodile creature is absolutely brilliant, and I love it to bits. One crocodile creature for you.
One crocodile creature. Oh, he's very cute.
Yeah. I don't want to scratch him under his chin.
I like him a lot. I like the multiple eyes, and the fact he's being used as a sort of pack animal.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
What else?
Well, in 40k terms, they're releasing a very, 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 very big Necron Titan.
Yes,
really huge.
Brilliantly named Necron Construct.
Necron Construct. Yeah, I mean it's bare bones, isn't it? It's very bare bones. It's enormous.
Yes, it is gigantic.
And it's lovely looking. I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful arachnid creature.
It's one of those things that really makes my need for a Necron army grow.
Yeah.
Because I shouldn't, but want to.
Yeah, especially with the advent of the latest codex. Have you got that yet, by the way?
I haven't. I'm way
you
behind
must get
on
it.
everything. It is on my list.
You must get it. Although, if it comes down to a choice between that and the Drukhari one, go for the Drukhari one.
Well, I intend to try and get up to date with all the codexes at some point, just so I've got them all to read.
Excellent.
Because I can't be on a podcast called The Fluffenhammer and not know all of the fluff. So I need to get up to date on that.
I mean, as an aside, one of the things people have been asking about this Warhammer Fest is where is the Warhammer 40k stuff? Which, there actually isn't a great deal of 40k stuff here, but that's because 40k is churning along on its own.
Yes.
The rumours are thick and fast, and we know what's coming. There's not a great deal to announce there, or to reveal as such. We pretty much have a fairly detailed, and it seems accurate timeline. And it just seems that they're releasing that stuff on the main sites rather than at conventions and whatnot.
I think 40k has dominated the last year, which is understandable because it's 40k, and 40k has always been the thing that sells more.
Yeah.
So it is nice to see Age of Sigmar get a little bit of time and a little bit of love. And when we get into next year's Warhammer Fest, I bet you 40k will dominate that one.
Absolutely.
Because there'll be stuff happening for that, and there'll be less Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
It's just going to be what's the word I'm looking for there? Circular. Cylindrical.
Circular.
Circular, that's the one I was going for.
Is that the one you were going for?
That's the thing I was trying to aim for. Cyclical. That'll do nicely.
Cyclical.
Cylindrical.
Cylindrical, yes, that would be interesting. But cyclical, I think, is what you were going for.
Yeah, but there is one thing that they've popped out for 40k, which a lot of people are happy about. Although a lot of people got confused by it as well.
Oh, right,
which I thought was quite fun. It's the Sister of Battle.
Oh, yeah.
People thought it was a statue.
It's not, it's a miniature, isn't it?
It is a miniature.
It is actually a miniature.
It's just the fact it's a 3-up.
Yeah.
So
she looks gorgeous. She really does. She does. She looks the epitome of a Sister of Battle. She looks like the kind of miniature that's probably been sculpted from the Codex cover art.
Yeah, well, it's actually based on a bit of work, yeah. What I've found interesting is that people have fallen into two camps when it comes to this. There is the screaming of joy, and then there is, but it doesn't look very feminine, does she?
Oh, for God's sake.
To which the response is, no, she's a Sister of Battle.
She's a Sister of Battle. You're lucky, quite frankly, that she looks feminine at all, given their background. They are... they are female, but they have this hideous background where they mutilate themselves. They score markings into their own skin, and they burn themselves and flagellate themselves as offerings to the Emperor and to sort of ritually flagellate themselves. So you're lucky that she doesn't look like a Cenobite.
True enough.
You know?
Do you know what I get from this miniature, though?
What's that?
It's a really strange thing, considering the Primaris and everything. I get from this miniature a real sense of strength.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an odd one to say, because the Primaris, they look awesome.
Yeah.
Right? They look cool. This looks strong. She looks like she could take you out back and beat the living hell out of you.
And it's a very different dynamic as well, isn't it? It's a very sort of quiet strength, it seems to me. It's contained. It's not like, say, it's not overly elaborate like, say, the Eldari miniatures are, where they're flipping about and whatnot. It's not sort of charging forward like a Space Marine. It's this quiet, almost peaceable strength. It's inner strength. It's the faith. It's what they're about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she is a rock,
Mm-hmm.
She is fantastic. I don't need a Sisters of Battle army.
Nor do I. But I am very pleased that the people who want one are going to be getting one.
How many Sisters of Battle do you think you'll end up with, though? Because I've got a feeling I'm going to end up with a few just to paint.
Just to paint. It's quite likely. I mean, they look like they're going to be a fascinating miniatures range, and it depends on what comes with them as well.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
It's not just going to be Sisters of Battle. Obviously, I imagine we're going to get the equivalent of Empire Flagellants, sort of Imperial Flagellants with them, and those I will buy lots of them.
Yes,
lots of them,
for all sorts of reasons.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we also had another little thing coming out of Forge World, which I really rather like. There is a his name is Anakaris Scoria, and he is a Dark Mechanicum miniature.
Mm-hmm.
Now, something that people have been aching for a very long time, because it's been in the background for ages and ages and ages, is a Dark Mechanicum army.
Yes.
Again, given New Games Workshop, I think it's quite likely to turn up at some point. And I think they may be using this almost as like a test bed.
Yeah, see how it goes. Yeah.
For its aesthetics, to see how it differentiates from the established Mechanicum armies.
Mm-hmm.
He's gorgeous. He's absolutely beautiful. He is very Mechanicum, but also very Chaos. He's sort of spidery and Defiler-like.
Do you know who he reminds me of? And this is such a weird thing. The moment I saw him, all I could hear was Gary Oldman's voice.
Yeah.
Because he reminds me of like some kind of weird mechanical version of Gary Oldman in Lost in Space.
Actually, that's perfect. That's perfect characterization for him, to be honest. So,
yep. This makes me sad because it means I really like him and I want him.
Yeah.
And I don't need to spend that kind of money.
No, I mean, if they do release a Dark Mechanicum book somewhere down the line, then I'll be all for it.
Yeah.
All for it.
Did you see the Dreadnought drop pod as well?
Yeah, certainly did.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's very nice.
There's a couple of other bits from Forge World, actually.
Yeah, there's quite a lot coming out. I mean, the Alpha Legion stuff for HH, there's all that. Alfarius, by all accounts, but apparently no Omegon.
Yeah, which is a strange one.
It's an odd one, isn't it? I mean, the thing is, with the Alpha Legion, you never bloody know. Is there a twin? Is it some sort of like double bluff that they're pulling? Is it a myth? Who knows?
And I think the last two bits of news from this were the Proteus pattern land speeder, which is really cool because that's full blown rogue trading.
It's a total throwback. It is a total throwback to when those miniatures were stitched together from bits of leftover tissue carton and milk box and whatnot.
And the what's it called? The Ascatus Knight Porphyrion, the skull-faced Forge World Titan.
Oh yeah, which is really cool because it's actually it's something from the Age of Darkness, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And it's not understood, so it has a real sense of threat.
The unknown.
Yeah,
right.
You get the impression that it could go mad. It may be
the
machine spirit inside could go mad and start stomping on its own forces or something like that,
Did you ever read Warped Stars?
I don't think I did, no.
It's a story of we're going right back here. Once again, it's in the Deathwing short story book. And it's the story of a psyker who's just starting to get his psychic powers.
Right,
he's
okay.
About 15, 16, something like that. And as he's starting to expand out, he gets the something out in the warp catches hold of him and uses him to pull itself in.
Oh.
And when it appears, it's described as just being this horrific, clanking piece of machinery from the Age of Strife.
Right.
That the thing inside it has been there for countless millennia, and it is just gone.
It's mad, it's crazy.
But it's not like gibbering madness. It's quite pleasant in the way it talks.
Yeah.
But the way that it talks, it's I'm trying to remember how it describes it. It talks like it's got more than one tongue.
Right. Okay.
So it's just really slobbery and
Nice.
really quite unpleasant to listen to.
Lovely.
But the moment I saw this thing, I thought, there it is. That's the thing. That's right
it,
there.
Yeah.
That's going to take children, take out their brains, so it's got someone to talk to.
It's a lovely mini, actually. It's a really beautiful design. It does look slightly archaic and slightly sinister.
Yeah, I love it a bit. So expensive.
Yeah, it's very expensive, but hey ho.
All of that then is pretty much what Warhammer Fest has brought out. There are some other bits and bobs, but I think that's everything.
I think that's all the salient stuff. I mean, the real big stuff, the stuff that's going to be causing a stir, is Rogue Trader, Sisters of Battle, New Age of Sigmar, Adeptus Titanicus. Those are going to be the big ones.
There's some Middle-earth stuff coming as well, but we don't really cover the Middle-earth.
Not really. It's just, it's just not. It's certainly not my thing. I don't think it's your thing either.
No, not at all, unfortunately. So my apologies if you are a Middle-earth fan, but it's not something we're ever really going to cover on this.
No, I mean, we might look at like how Tolkien's influence on the background at some point. Because obviously
that's a future patron-only episode that's going to be coming. So, with all that being said, there is one other thing that is worth discussing.
There is an order of business, isn't there? There is something that came out yesterday, which is one of those naughty little rumours that Games Workshop love to put out. They love to put the cat amongst the pigeons, don't they, these days? They really do.
They really do. They really do.
We got an image yesterday of a claw. It's a claw. It's some sort of clawed creature, but it's not just a claw, is it? It's not just a claw. It's a claw that has a very, very particular style to it. When you look back at particular images in the background, it's not Tyrannid.
It is not.
It's not Tyrannid.
It's not goopy enough.
No, it's not clean enough, ironically. The thing about the Tyrannid talons is they're designed in a very particular way. They're designed to look like they're efficient. They're hyper-evolved to eviscerate or to slaughter. This doesn't look like that. It's got certain barbs and certain flutes and certain stylistic curvatures that make it look like something else.
Mm-hmm.
Something very specific. It's a Slaanesh claw.
It is.
It's a Slaanesh claw. It looks exactly like the claws that you get on a Slaanesh creature.
Yes.
Sort of like a current day adaptation thereof. And it's been very interesting, has it not, Adam? It's been very interesting watching the internet's reaction to this claw.
Because the internet has said, oh look, it's Slaaneshi claw.
Mm-hmm.
And websites have... Yeah, we'll just say certain websites who have thrown their weight behind the idea that Slaanesh is dead and never coming back.
There has been a pervasive narrative, hasn't there?
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years, really since AOS came out, there's been this pervasive narrative that Slaanesh is going away, that Games Workshop don't want anything to do with him, her, whatever. And that they're going to gradually get rid of the god. There has been nothing from Games Workshop to actually state that that's the case. In fact, if you bother to just tear yourself away from that narrative and look at it objectively, Slaanesh has been consistently there throughout. Consistently, alongside all the other Chaos powers. Even though in AOS, Slaanesh has been ousted from his throne, he's still there. He's still a key part of the background. He's mentioned in the Ideneth Deepkin. He's a massive part of the Daughters of Cain. He's going to be a part of any of the Elven races. He's still a part of all the Chaos forces as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been there. This narrative seems to have cropped up and fed on itself. It's become this self-contained, self-referencing narrative, which there's very little actual evidence for. And as a result of that, because certain websites have thrown their entire weight behind this narrative, their entire weight, and have consistently put out, which I would say are baiting articles. They're baiting articles when they've got nothing else to put out. They've put out these baiting articles about how Games Workshop are going to get rid of Slaanesh, Games Workshop are going to change Slaanesh, Games Workshop are doing this with Slaanesh and that and this and that. Because they've relied upon that for so long, when this claw came out, despite the fact that everyone, and I mean everyone else on the internet, has said it's a Slaanesh claw,
yep,
the way they have consistently denied that and not even referenced it, it's almost desperate. It's almost desperate. It could be this, it could be that, it could be anything. It's a Slaanesh claw.
So
it's a Slaanesh
which
claw.
Is everyone is saying Slaanesh claw. Dragon Wyvern, maybe? Or Tyrannid?
Or
Auric, maybe?
No.
Maw Crusher?
It's a Slaanesh claw.
Yeah.
It could be a lot of things. Who knows what it could be? It could be the new Fiend kit. It could be, which, by the way, some of the rumour mongers have already said is going to be out soon. You know, there is a new Fiend of Slaanesh coming up. It could be the Keeper of Secrets, which is due, really, given the rate at which they've released the Greater Demons. It's due. It could be any number of things. It could be like a new Herald of Slaanesh of some sort. What we do know is a Slaanesh release is imminent, both in AOS and in 40k. There are miniatures. Some of the very reliable rumour mongers have pointed out that the miniatures like Fulgrim, like the Keeper of Secrets, like the Fiend are done. They're ready to go. And the only other thing I can see them doing is releasing like an Emperor's Children codex to coincide with it in 40k.
Yeah.
And whatever the equivalent battle tome will be in AOS.
Let's just hit. Ooh, bit of echo there. Let's just hit the hammer as hard as we can. It's Slaanesh. Calling it now.
Yeah.
If you're saying it's not Slaanesh, I'm sorry for your disappointment.
Yeah, it just, if it isn't, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah.
I'll be very surprised just because of the way it looks. Everything about it. If you look at like the claws on the Hellstrider of Slaanesh box set, by the mortal champions that ride the steeds of Slaanesh.
Yep.
They have these claws, and
Yep.
it looks just like them. It looks just like them.
If you look underneath at the sort of the way that the claw is formed, you've got the bigger spike, and then below that you've got the smaller claw. The smaller claw is exactly how a demonette claw looks.
Exactly, yeah.
In every version of a demonette. Then you look at the longer part, and the longer part looks exactly like a Keeper of Secrets claw with the demonette claw in the middle. It's Slaanesh.
It's whatever
it
else it is. Whatever the hell it is, it's
Get
Slaanesh.
off your high horse.
Yeah.
Stop it now. You're being silly.
It's done, I think. I think this narrative that Slaanesh is gone and they'll slowly wither Slaanesh away and he'll just go very quiet, I don't think so.
No, that's... I don't understand why this is such a thing.
I don't either. I mean, it's taking the conversation on a wider level, right? Look at Nurgle, right? Look at how graphic Nurgle is, right?
Yeah.
The miniatures, the descriptions in the background of their physical ailments, their references to cancer and tumours and infestations, they are totally, totally graphic. How is that any more or less acceptable, or any more or less disturbing to a palate than, say, Slaanesh, which represents extremities of desire and aesthetic beauty, you know? This speaks to a much wider cultural concern, which we won't get into here because it would dominate the entire thing. But how is that, or what about the references to murder? In Khorne.
Yeah.
In Khorne, there's wholesale slaughter and mutilation, complete and total violence, and the miniatures reflect that. The miniatures reflect that. How is that any more or less extreme, or any more or less acceptable than miniatures that say are aesthetically beautiful, or that suggest like anatomy in some way, shape, or form? It's bizarre to me. The whole narrative is bizarre to me.
Yeah, it's. I don't want. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't want to get into this right now because this is the type of sociological discussion that.
I think, to be honest, Adam, this is the kind of sociological discussion we should put in the Patreon.
Yeah, this is one of those things that we are planning to do down the line to talk about this type of thing.
I think it could be really fascinating.
Yes. And right now, I think the best thing to do is just to say, look, it's Slaanesh. Stop fighting the inevitable. It's pointless.
Yep, Slaanesh is coming back.
need.
We're going to get the full Pantheon again.
Yeah.
And I can't wait. I can't wait. I mean, given how beautiful the other greater demons are, how much they've just captured the very epitome of those creatures, the very epitome.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see what they do with the Keeper of Secrets. I cannot wait.
More parts for my kit bashing box.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I think then with that, it's time to start closing things down.
I think so.
Mr. George, where can people find you and what have you got to pimp?
Well, people can find me at strangeplaygrounds.com, where you'll find my articles and my fiction. There'll be a lot more fiction coming out very soon, by the way. You can find me at Exaggerated Elegy on YouTube, where you'll find the Strange Playgrounds podcast, in which we discuss horror and fiction and art and all sorts of disturbing and wonderful and surreal things. And you'll also find my video game Let's Plays there too. We're doing Bloodborne at the moment, which is lots of fun. And you can also find me on the Twitter Enigmatic Elegy.
Spot on. Right, sit down and get ready.
Oh.
So, you can find me on Twitter at Grufflock, and you can find these shows on Twitter at The Fluffenhammer. You can find us on Facebook at The Fluffenhammer. You can find all of these shows and much, much more, plus articles at thefluffenhammer.weebly.com, and you can find our Patreon at the Fluffenhammer, patreon.com/Fluffenhammer. Not only that, you can find my other work at rivetedsounds.co.uk, my audiobook production company, where I've just released the entirety of Crawlhammer X Quest as one 3-hour epic.
Oh, wow.
If you do not fancy being a Patreon. The Patreon obviously got everything in half-an-hour chunks as a complete 5-part season, but if you do not want to become a Patreon and you'd rather just buy the thing and listen to it, once again, that money just goes straight back into the Fluffenhammer
Certainly
for us
does.
to do stuff. And you can buy that for $3, which is not much. You're getting it for $1 an hour.
$1 an hour is pretty good going, I would say.
Yeah, I think it is. So feel free to go and do that and give us a hand, because this is a really expensive thing to be doing, weirdly enough. And as much as we love doing it, it's getting more expensive as it goes. And we do have plans for the future, but we can't do those plans without money.
Such plans.
It sounds strange. I will prefix that with saying the money that we get from the Patreon does not go into our pockets. We
Certainly
don't buy codexes.
Don't go and buy miniatures with it.
No, definitely not.
Definitely not, no.
That money is going towards
Technical stuff.
Some of it's going to be going to technical stuff when we need to upgrade equipment, that type of thing. Some of it is going to paying off the bills and things that come in from owning the feeds and the website and all that type of thing. But I've also got other community-based plans for the future, and to do that type of thing, we need to have cash in the pocket. I can't talk about them at all because they're such early days.
Okay, but it's interesting.
Oh yeah,
It's very interesting.
Everything that goes well, it should be good. So, with all that being said, let's get out of here. Thank you very much, George.
Pleasure as always. We needed to do this one, didn't we? It needed
Yes.
that boil needed to be lanced immediately. You know?
Oh God!
Yeah.
That pus needed to be seeped.
Certainly did. Certainly did.
I'm gonna go watch some Blackhead videos. And thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you for listening,
guys. Take
guys.
care. Bye now.
Bye. I think we did that quite comprehensively, to be honest.
Guns might be that way. Let's go be